going to get into the review class that we're going to do Sunday. Start in it tonight. Because my plan there is just to zip through the whole quarter in a real fast thing and touch all the bases. So if we get started on that tonight, it might help out a little bit time-wise. So to review kind of where we are, if you're visiting with us, good to see you. We're in the divided kingdom, kind of in the middle of it. Been through a lot of the kings already. So we'll jump right into that. Where we are right now is we've had Asa and Jehoshaphat, the good kings, and then Jehoram, Ahaziah, of course, tied into Ahab's family. They were evil of evil, and Athaliah's come in Judah, and then the baby Joash was hid for 7 years, and he was king, good as long as Jehoiada was around, and then now his son Amaziah is on the throne. Over in Israel, of course, we've had Ahab and his family and his 2 sons, and then Jehu wiped all them out, and he has come in, and he looked like it was going to be good, but kept the golden calf worship, and now 2 of his sons, son and grandson, have reigned. So about 800 BC, not that far from when it's going to be the decline. We start off tonight. So we'll run through a quick review of what we did Sunday right quick. Jehoiada's been around 130 years old, been a good influence, not only for Joash, the young king, but also for the whole nation. Kept them straight, if you will, for this good time. But he dies. He's buried in the scepter of the kings, even though he's not a king. The 37th year of Joash, he reigns 40 years, so he's got 3 more years to go, roughly now. When he dies, the princes of Judah come in and they make a request of Joash. And we don't know exactly what it is. It doesn't say they requested this, but by looking at the text, it almost has to be something to do with the idol worship, that they wanted to go back and practice idol worship. Maybe not have to come to the temple, to the high place to do their worship. Anyhow, Joash agrees to it, which is bad. Zechariah, who is Jehoiada's son, comes in and to him and says, you're forsaking the Lord. This is bad. Don't do this. And Joash has him stoned. So things are really gone downhill for Joash at this point. There's a battle then in Jerusalem. Hazael from Syria comes in. He leaves Joash wounded. And 2 of his officials actually wind up killing him to avenge the blood of Zechariah that he stoned. Joash is buried, but not in the scepter of the kings now. And Amaziah, his son, is reigning in Judah. He reigns 25 years. He did what was right, but again, we've seen this phrase before, but not with a loyal heart. He's not totally convinced what he ought to be doing. Idolatry continues, goes on. But he does go back and do vengeance on those who killed his father. So we got this and killing this one, and this and making revenge with that one, this and making revenge for that one. A kind of stair-step process thing here. Up in Israel, Jehu, of course, wiped out the house of Ahab, and he's reigned, and he's died. Now Jehoahaz, his son, is reigning, and he's the first of the 4 descendants that God promised Jehu would be on the throne from him. And that phrase we've seen over and over and over, he followed in the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat. Made Israel to sin. So that's not good there. So he dies, and Jehoash, his son, or Joash is also called, takes over in Israel. So he's the king of Israel. And Hazael dies in Syria, and have Ben Hadad, which is not just a name, it's a kind of a name for the kings there. They use different times. So different Ben Hadads reign. He's in Damascus. Now, with all those new kings coming in and things going on there, we got Elisha. It's been here all this time. He's an old man now, so he's about to die. Joash goes to visit him, and he has him shoot his bow to show he's going to conquer Syria. How many times? He taps arrows on the ground 3 times, and they do defeat Syria 3 times. So here we are back to the kings, kind of review where we are. So we're down to these kings. Amaziah's in Judah. Joash or Jehoash is in Israel. The new Ben-Hadad is in Syria, and Elisha has now died. So we're now about 800 BC. That's about 80 years before Israel's going to be gone totally. So getting into tonight's new material a little bit. Every spring, Moabite raiders come in and start raiding. Of course, springtime's when they go to battle. Nobody's go out and battle in the wintertime because of the weather conditions and all this kind of stuff. So these Moabite raiders come in, and some of the Israelites are out burying a guy, and they see the Moabite raiders coming, so they get scared, and so they find an empty a scepter they can just dump the body in right quick. And when they do, they happen to pick the scepter where Elisha's buried. And as soon as the man's bones, or the man they're burying, touches Elisha's bones, he comes back to life and stands up. So Elisha's already dead, but even his bones cause this man to come back to life. So that little story's pitched in here and there. All right. In Syria, Ben-Hadad is now reigning in the place of Hazael. Joash does go against him in battle and beats him 3 times. The 3 times of how the arrows on the ground, just like Elisha told him it was going to happen when he's dead there. And some of the territory that Hazael they captured now is taken back from Syria. Down in Judah, Amaziah is dealing with Edomites. They used to have control of the Edomites, had battles with them before, and now Amaziah wants to get his territory back, so he gets his army ready to go fight the Edomites. He takes a count of the army. Soldiers, these guys, you got 300,000. He thinks that's not enough, so he gets 1,000 men from Israel, mercenary type people from their army, and hires them to come in and go to battle with him against the Edomites. And God comes to him and says, this is not a good idea. This is not a good idea. God will be with you, but he is not with Israel because of their sin and their evil doings all this time. Tell them to go home. Send them back home. You don't need them. I mean, you got 300,000 men. I made Gideon have, 300, okay? God's on your side. You don't need 300,000 men. Send those 100,000 back. Well, you know what he's worried about? What about the money I paid him, okay? I hired him to come back. So we'll talk about that at the end here in a minute. This 100 talents of silver. And one reference said it almost 4 tons of silver that he had paid him to come back. So the man of God says, why are you worried about that? God can give you that and more. That's no big loss that you lost that money. I mean, what's it with God? So he sends them home, but the soldiers aren't happy about that. So as they go back home, hang on to that thought a minute. We'll pick it back up after we get another piece of the story. We'll come back to these guys here in a minute. So Amaziah goes to battle against Edom, and he is successful. God is with him. He sent the Israelites back home, and they win the battle. Amaziah brings back with him some of the gods, the idol gods of the Edomites. And God's not very happy with that. But it says he's angry about it. He brings these back. And look at this verse here. And we're going to talk about this again at the end too. But be thinking about it. Why would you bring back these gods to worship who couldn't defend the Edomites against you? Come on, think about that a minute. We'll come back to that in a minute. So when the man of God comes and tells him that, he gets very angry about it. And who made you my counselor? Who made you the one that's going to keep me straightened out here? And he said, God is going to destroy you because of this. He might advise or not, it's up to you, but God is going to punish you because of what you've done. So that's the story with that. Now, let's go back to those mercenaries from Israel they hired. Remember, he sent him home. Didn't need them, sent them back home, 100,000 of them. It's not just a few. On the way back home, they raid a bunch of the cities of Judah. And they kill 3,000 people. They take a lot of plunder, a lot of booty. They get back going up there. And then, of course, that makes Amaziah upset with the Israelites. So he calls them out to battle now. So we're going to have Amaziah of Judah and Joash or Jehoash of Israel faced up in battle here. So Amaziah comes out and says, come face me. Come battle me here. Now, this is not the first time we've had Judah and Israel fighting against each other. It's happened several times through here, but here's another one coming up here. So Joash in Israel tells Amaziah a little tale, a little story, a little parable, if you will, about a giant cedar of Lebanon and a little thistle. Or I'm the giant cedar of Lebanon. You're the thistle up here. You think you beat Edom. Now you're gonna come up here and beat me. Go home and quit before you get hurt. And he's arrogant, and he's thinks he's something because he defeated Edom, and God was with him when he did. But now what's God done? God got angry with him because he brought the idols back. So Joash tells him, stay at home or you wish you had. But he doesn't. He goes and fights against him. Press to the battle. And that's fine because God's behind it all. He's going to punish Amaziah for what he's done. So they meet in war, in battle, and Israel defeats Judah soundly and takes him back to Jerusalem, tears down about 400 cubits of the wall, big chunk of that wall torn down. And of course, that's one of the key parts of defense for any city. Plunders some of the things out of the temple, the gold and silver and the various other things out of the temple, takes that back to Israel with it. So that's God punishing Judah because he was with them and they defeated Edom, but he brought the idols back with him, and God punished him because of that. Now, still in Israel, we're back with Joash or Jehoash now. He dies, and Jeroboam the second, who is the son of Joash, be the grandson of Jehu, 4 generations to be on the throne. It's the second one now. So Jeroboam, we already had a Jeroboam, they call it Jeroboam the second. Comes in, again, he's like everybody else up there. He's very, very wicked, and not much else is told about him as far as his reign is concerned. We don't know much about that. 26 years, and God has let we had a couple of classes back. God was shrinking the territory of Israel. We talked about that. It cut Israel off. And that, well, now they're kind of gaining some territory back. It's like one last time God's with them before the fall is going to come over here. So the territory expanded for Judah and Israel both back a little bit. Israel just defeated Edom, things like that. And this probably comes about because Assyria is between kings at this point. So it means they're not constantly oppressing them and fighting with them all the time. And God's mercy comes in there. So right now we're down to probably 25, 30 years before the fall. And things are great now, they think, but doom is coming. 722, it comes. Judgment's coming. So here's where we are with the kings now. Joash, Amaziah, Uzziah, and Judah. That's where we're going to stop as far as this quarter is concerned. Jeff and Gary will pick it up from there next time. And then in Israel, we had Jehu, Jehoahaz, Joash, and Jeroboam the second. The ones that followed after Ahab there. So, a couple of thoughts about class tonight. I know we went through it real fast. It was real short, kind of a clean up class. What about my money? What's the money I paid these 100,000 mercenaries from Israel to come down and fight against Edom? I want my money. Well, concerned about things that don't really matter. What's God going to do? God's going to give him the victory over the Edomites. Is that the important thing? I mean, being on God's side, doing what God wants done, going to battle, send them back, you don't need them. And yet, what's he worried about? The little things. And God says, I can replace that. I give you so much more than that. I'm afraid sometimes we might be kind of the same way. We get concerned about today's things and what I need today and what I want today. Instead of I trust in God and for the long term out there. What's out there down the road? What we want? What that relationship with God? Why? We trust in him. So I don't need to worry about today's things. God can take care of that. Let's get that in our minds and think about that a little bit. And this is what this really gets me out this whole lesson tonight. Went to battle against the Edomites. Defeated them. God was with him. He defeated them. He takes their gods, which should be protecting them, right? And brings them back to worship. Now, somebody got to explain that to me. Okay, I don't understand why you reason to think that way. You got the gods that you defeated, and you're going to bring them back here to worship. I don't use this word very often, okay? But this is about what it comes down unless I'm just missing something, okay? Why would you bring those gods back? I mean, it wouldn't have made God, if you brought them back to make kindling out of, God wouldn't have been upset. Obviously, he had to bring them back to worship. Otherwise, why would God be upset at him? Upset. He's angry at him, the text says. So, not only is it foolish, to me, it's downright stupidity to think that way, but it's also costly because he goes to battle now against Israel, and what happens? Israel defeats him big time. So, disobey God, turn your back on God, and what's going to happen? You're going to pay for it. Okay. And then this thing here, we mentioned this same point in the last class. We'll put it here again now. When the prophet comes in and tells Amaziah, you've done wrong, and he gets upset at him. Who made you the king's counselor? Who told you to come tell me how to run my kingdom? Whatever he may have said to him. I don't want your advice. I don't need your advice. And this passage from Galatians 4 just pops in my mind when I'm thinking about that. How often does somebody come and try to tell us something that's right, something that point out something we're doing wrong, trying to help us out? How do we react about it? We get all upset. We'll get mad. And Paul uses the phrase here, did I become your enemy because I told you the truth? And don't we react that way too often, probably? When somebody comes and tries to help us out and make a point to us, and, you really could have done this, you shouldn't have done that, whatever. And we get mad about it. Instead of thanking them for helping them out, looking out for us. It's exactly what's happened here. All right, that was really quick. It was very short. Somebody got thoughts about anything we talked about? Let's kind of wrap up class to get everything down so the next quarter starts here. James, kill this one and bring up lesson 23 for me, please. It's already it's in the folder there. Yeah, no, still it's not thinking.
I agree with that. Yeah. I mean, they'd already gone through it.
Joash was there. Joash was, but this is Joash's son now, and he's had a chance, and he served God, not with a loyal heart, but he did serve God. I already stayed there. So to bring one more idol back probably didn't matter. I mean, they already had the idols there in the high places. That's part of what Amaziah did not clean up that Joash let in. So to bring one more idol back there. But the very point is the idol of the nation that you just defeated, like they're going to help you out some way. I mean, that's the part that just not get there. Okay, anybody else? All right. What we're going to do, we got this extra class that talks about Sunday, where the leap year falls. We have Sunday as another period next quarter. I'll run through the entire quarter. Now, I'm scared to death to start with. I went through each lesson and tried to pick out just a few of the slides. And I use a lot of slides, a lot more than any professional tells you ought to. I'll try to pick out a few of the slides that made the key points to kind of carry the thread through each lesson. I came out about 315 slides to start with. But you divide that by 40 minutes and you got to clip through them pretty fast. Now, I can talk pretty fast, but that's still clicking pretty fast. So I went back through and threw a bunch of them out and come down to about 200 slides. Still got too many probably, so we're going to get part of them tonight, part of Sunday. So we'll see how it goes here. So think back with me all the way back to the beginning of the quarter. We're going to just run through the entire quarter and follow the kings, and we'll touch on some of the lessons we talked about, and it won't be a long thing. Each one hit the high points and go. Just kind of redo the whole quarter here in a hurry. So we'll get part of that done tonight. We'll finish it up Sunday then. So let's go back to lesson 1 and start through the divided kingdom. We talked about to start with, where are we in time? Well, we just finished at that point the United Kingdom with Saul, David, and Solomon. And the time frame there is getting around the 1000 BC down into the about 900 BC, 920 BC, 921, when the divided kingdom actually started. It's going to last 200 years to 721 when Israel's taken away by Assyrian captivity. So we got a 200-year roughly time frame here we're talking about with the divided kingdom, with both nations there. Why is it going to divide? It's going to divide because of Solomon's unfaithfulness. God said, I'm going to take part of it away from you there. But because, we talk about 2 Samuel 7 over and over and over this quarter, because of the promise to David, I'm going to keep part of it for his sake. So, and again, with Nathan's prophecy there, it's probably one of the most important parts of the whole book of Samuel. God's going to build David a house that's going to be there forever. We talked about that. House has two parts to it. The physical part, the reign of Solomon and his descendants, and then the spiritual part, the application of the lineage of Christ is coming down to him, and his kingdom will last truly forever. So how did it split? Rehoboam has, say, the south. He has 2 tribes there, and Rehoboam has 10 tribes in the north. That's the split between the north and the south. Rehoboam and Jeroboam. And this is the point we made. It's the theme kind of for the whole quarter. Obedience brings us blessings. Sin is going to bring us cursings and punishments. That's just the way it is. That's the way it is then. That's the way it is now. We obey God, we'll get blessings. We sin against God, and we're going to look for punishment. It's coming. We talked about that all through the quarter. All right, in Judah, think about the division now. I didn't put any maps in here. You're going to be your own little map maker in your mind here. Rehoboam's in the south. He's got 2 kingdoms. He's going to be the remnant of the house of David. It's going to carry through the whole time here. Gets shaky a few times, but that'll be where the remnant comes through there. Capital's in Jerusalem. The temple's there to worship Jehovah. Jeroboam's in the north. Got 10 tribes, and all the kings up there are evil. Headquarters now is in Shechem. It becomes Syria later on, but right now starts off there in Shechem. The text we talked about here, 1 Kings and 2 Kings, mainly carries the thread of the kings of Israel, where 2 Chronicles carries the kings of Judah. Now, there's some overlap between the two, but that's the general thing there. And a lot of the lessons we talked about from them we can learn certainly apply to us. All right, Jeroboam takes the 10 tribes and pulls them away. Rehoboam doesn't like that. He wants to go back and get them. He gets ready to go to battle. God tells him, don't do it. It's my doing. I wanted this separation. Let them go. So that's where that started off there. God promises Jeroboam a dynasty, just like he promised David a dynasty. If you will be faithful to me, I will set you up, and your descendants will reign forever in the north and Israel there. When it didn't happen, Jeroboam gets fearful that they'll go back to the temple and worship. So he sets up then the golden calves. One at Dan and one at Bethel, and said, these are your gods that brought you out of Egypt. So where idols worship came in to them, but idol worship is nothing new. The people all around them had it already. So that's nothing new to them. Not only though, did changing the idols change what you worship, it's going to change how you worship. You got to have different priests because the Levites are all gone back down to Judah. You got different priests. They changed a bunch of days of the sacrifices up, all the sacrifices of the calves. But he says we're still serving Jehovah. We're still serving Jehovah. Even though we're worshiping the golden calves, we're still serving Jehovah. And my little slide there said, really? Now, time goes on with Rehoboam a while, and he starts feeling very secure. So he abandons God, goes off on his own tangent down there. Temple's still there, but idolatry starts coming in, and Shishak from Egypt comes in to fight against him. This one's hard to read, it's small, but it's 2 quick points on here. I got them highlighted a little bit. Because of Jeroboam's sin, God said, I'm going to cut the house of Jeroboam off. And we saw that all through the quarter, the king and his son into them, king and his son into them, and just over and over where they cut the dynasty off there, and it ends over that. And this prophecy's here that they'll be scattered beyond the river. That's the prophecy of the doom when they'll be taken across into Assyrian captivity. Jeroboam led them away. That's one of the lessons we talked about. Jeroboam led the people and led them away from God. We talked about leadership responsibilities with that. All right, Rehoboam, south, did not prepare his heart to seek God. did not reign like David on the throne should have. His son Abijah comes in, takes his place, and he reigns for 3 years. And Judah does okay because they're still relying on God. They're not serving him faithfully, but God's still with them. So that's where they are. Asa comes in. We got Asa and Jehoshaphat. We got 66 years of good kings in Judah. So things are going to look up for them for a good long while here. Commanded Judah to seek the Lord, the fathers, preserve the commandments. So Asa is the first of these two good kings that's going to reign for a long time, 66 years total. Jeroboam dies, and his son Nadab comes in and reigns in his place, reigns for 2 years, and then he's killed by Baasha, and he wipes out the house of Jeroboam. Now, what's the promise God made to Jeroboam? You have a dynasty forever if you're a little baby. He didn't do it. He's gone. His whole family is gone. Left none of the house of Jeroboam alive. So Baasha's now a king there. So he becomes a king called the Syrians of Jeroboam. That phrase we're going to get over and over because of the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel sin. That's just that, drive it in over and over and over. All the kings come back to that point that Jeroboam blew it to start with, and they never came back. So here we are. Rehoboam, Abijah, and Asa, the kings in Judah, Jeroboam, Nadab, new dynasty, Baasha, the kings in Israel we've had so far. So Baasha's king, new dynasty, again, same offering. He could have refuted evil, got rid of the golden calves, and followed God. God would have blessed him. But he didn't do it. He kept the golden calves in place and worshiped them. So he's going to be wiped out too. Okay. Asa in Judah is relying on God, faithful to God, and he's about to go to battle. And he prays to God. And he says, you can be with those, you can be with us, whether we have power, doesn't matter who we are, as long as we're relying on you, you've got the power, and you can help anybody with that. We thought back then to Gideon, and 300 people is all it took to win the battle. And we talked about Jonathan when he went up and says, nothing restrains the Lord from saving by few or by many. God's in control. We don't need 300,000 people in our army. God's going to take care of it. And that's the way Asa felt about it here. So God gives Asa this great victory. They win the battle because Asa is good. He's trusting in God in Judah. Obedience brings blessings. Again, that's where Asa is. Obedience brings blessings. Asa makes this statement. Well, the man of God that comes after me, Asa makes this statement. We talked about this quite a bit in class. The Lord is with you while you're with him. If you seek him, you'll find him. If you forsake him, he'll forsake you. That was the key point that he made to Asa. Asa is following God. If you seek him, you'll find him. And we talked about a lot about being a choice. They had a choice. We have a choice. Am I going to seek God? Am I going to look for God? Am I going to find God? If I look for him, I can find him. If I forsake him, he's going to forsake me. Joshua told him, choose for yourself who you'll serve this day. At this point, God would never, never force me to serve him. It's my choice. My choice. Okay, Asa continues to serve Jehovah. He's faithful to God, prepares a temple, takes his own grandmother, the granddaughter of Solomon, if I remember right, Absalom, the granddaughter of Absalom, his own grandmother, and takes her out of her position as the queen mother, if you will, because she's worshiping idols. And kills anybody that doesn't serve Jehovah. So Asa is doing that, faithfully trying to serve God. But like most of them, he had a problem. So he guys has a battle to go to, and instead of seeking help from God, who's already helped him win the battle before, now he goes to Ben-Hadad in Syria and hires him to come in and fight for him in the prophet comes out and says, why did you do that? Why did you rely on Ben-Hadad instead of the Lord? Didn't the Lord deliver you before? Why did you go back? Do that? And again, Asa, look what he did. Last line. It's like we had tonight. Asa becomes angry with the prophet that told him that. Bring me a message. Tell me I'm doing wrong. Get what I'm going to do. I'll get mad at you about it. And then we talked about this at the end of the class. Then, if you'll seek him, you'll be found by you. Several passages, I took out a lot of them there. Jeremiah says, search for me with all your heart. There, James, draw near to God, he'll draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, purify your hearts. That's the points we talked about with that. And how do we seek him? This is all the slides we used through that class. How do I seek God? We talk about prayer. I draw closer to him by prayer. Who I associate with, I study, my meditation, what I think about, and about the song, trying to walk in the steps of the Savior. That's what draws me closer to God. Things like that. All right, lesson 5, moving on. Asa's still king here. Baasha's king up there. He's in Israel. He's wiped out Jeroboam's household. And we have this war we're talking about tonight. Israel and Judah going to war before. They go to war here. Again, Asa brings Ben-Hadad in to fight against them, to fight Israel. And Jehu, that's not the Jehu, the king, how later on this Jehu, a prophet, comes in and rebukes Baasha and says, because you walked in the ways of, guess who? Ways of Jeroboam, it caused my people to sin, you provoked me to anger, he's going to wipe him out. He'll wipe out his dynasty, okay? Just like I did Jeroboam, his household. So Baasha's going to be gone to his whole heritage is going to be gone, if you will. So his Asa's son, Elah, reigns for 2 years. Excuse me. Start back. I'm going to rethink this whole quarter. Asa is still reigning in Judah. Elah is Baasha's son in the north. And after he reigns for 2 years, Zimri, the commander of the chariots, commander of the army, comes in, and Elah's drunk. He kills him, and that wipes out Baasha's household. And Zimri then reigns for 1 week, and he gets killed then by Omri, which we'll get to in a minute. Again, Elah, what he's done, he sinned, broken the God to anger because he didn't do what he was supposed to. Zimri reigned in for 7 days. Again, walked in the ways of Jeroboam, made the people sin. And Omri comes in and kills him after 1 week. Now, Omri is important because he's the father of Ahab. We're going to start this long series they have here, and Omri is where that starts. So we've had 2 kings wiped out, 2 more kings wiped out, and now we got Omri. He's going to run a little longer than that. We get Omri, Ahab, then his 2 sons in there before they get wiped out. So Omri reigns for 12 years, and he's the one that takes them out of Shechem as the capital and puts them into Samaria. That's where Samaria comes in. And this is the big point we talked about with Omri. Everybody's been bad. How bad is Omri? He's worse than anybody that had yet. It's getting worse and worse and worse. Or I might say it's worser and worser and worser. Okay. It doesn't get good. Again, provokes God to anger, but following the ways of Jeroboam. Same thing, same pattern. And guess who his son is? Ahab. So Omri, his son is Ahab. And then when Ahab comes in, guess what's said about him? Well, he did worse than all the ones before him. So Omri is already worse than all the ones before him. Ahab comes in, he's worse than everybody before him. And he takes Jezebel as his wife, and that brings in what? Baal worship. So now you got Baal worship brought in and introduced into the northern kingdom there. Down the south now, Asa's reigned for a long time. The 39th year reigns 41 years. The 39th year, he gets very, very sick in his feet. And one thing that's against Asa is he did not seek God's help for that. He tried every way he could to cure it, to make it better, except he said he did not seek his help. After 41 years, a good reigning overall, then keeping the people there, Asa dies. Jehoshaphat, his son, reigns in his place, and he did not seek the Baals. He walked in his commandments, his, capital H-I-S, God's commandments. So we have another good king, Jehoshaphat. So Asa, 41 years. Jehoshaphat now is going to reign for 25 years. and Judah. Good kings. So where are we now? Rehoboam, Abijah, Asa, and Jehoshaphat over here. And got the little dotted lines drawn on this one over here, Rehoboam and Nadab, and then new dynasty, Baasha, Elah, new dynasty, Zimri that 1 week, and now we got Omri and Ahab. This is going a little longer. So Jay, you find it wipes them out. Ahab did evil inside the Lord more than all was for him. And what we talked about here when we went through this class was the downward spiral. They're getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And brought the point up, think about the U.S. today. Where are we now compared to where we were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, when a lot of you were born 50, 60, 70 years ago? What's this nation now compared to what it was then? And are we not in a downward spiral the same way? Getting worse all the time, seems like. James 1 says, you know, the desire's there first. And you think about the desire, and it comes out, and sin there, and then sin, when it's full grown, brings forth death. It just gets worse and worse and worse, progressive. Let's see. Let's stop right there. We've got about 2 minutes left. So we'll stop. We'll pick back up lesson 6. Again, just trying to go through and hit the highlights of the whole quarter here. So we'll go as far as we can Sunday, get through all of it or not, but we'll try. Okay? Thank you.